Trump is facing 717 years in prison based off a grouping of 4 indictments. The first is out of New York City, the Stormy Daniels hush money case. The second is the classified documents in Mar-a-Lago. The third is the January 6th insurrection. In that case, he's technically facing the death penalty. One of the charges, conspiracy against rights, if someone dies in the committing of that crime, then that person is eligible to the death penalty. And Ashley Babbitt died on January 6th. So technically he's facing the death penalty in that one. And then the latest, and if I had to pick the most ridiculous of the 4, they're all pretty ridiculous, so it's hard to say exactly. I think it's the Georgia one. I think that's the most ridiculous. That's the one that we got the mugshot. We're going to go over all of these coming up again. You'll know more than anyone you know about any of it. But first, why are they going after Trump? We need to know this. We need to know the root of this. There's a couple of reasons. The root of it is they will never forgive him for beating their girl, Hillary Clinton. They were going to make history. Do you remember this tweet? This was 2 weeks before the election. Hillary's campaign sent out this tweet saying, "Happy birthday to the next president of the United States." Oh, how sweet. And they had it in the bag. This is where Hillary Clinton had her big victory party planned in New York City. Do you notice anything about that building in New York City? Here's a picture of the inside of this building. That is New York City's largest glass ceiling. And they were going to break it. And they had it in the bag. And they lost it to the Orange Man? Are you kidding me? And they decided from that point forward to destroy his life and the lives of anyone who ever supported him. And it's so bizarre because the Democrats could have made deals with Trump and they could have done pretty well for themselves in this country. But instead they went insane and they lost their minds and they'll never forgive him for it. So here we are now, 8 years later, coming up to 2024. A sane person would say, you know what? That was crazy. We don't like Trump, but let's let the people decide. We think he's terrible, and I think most people agree with me that he's awful. So let's have a vote. Let's pick a day, and we'll let everyone vote on who they think should be the president, and then we'll decide that way if he should be president again. No, they'll never do that. They will not stop until they lock him up. Do you remember that chant? It wasn't lock him, it was lock her up during his rallies. Do you remember that? Here's one example.
Honestly, she should be locked up. Should be locked up.
All right, do you remember that? That was at every rally, people would chant lock her up. And the left just, I can't believe that they would do that. It's so horrific, so unpresidential, it's terrible. So then Trump wins. And he was asked, are you going to pursue criminal charges against Hillary Clinton? Are you going to lock her up? And he said, no. Why? He said, it's just not something I feel very strongly about. And they said, but your supporters are going to be so upset at you. He said, I don't think they'll be disappointed. This is a quote. He said, I will explain it that we in many ways will save our country. It would be a criminal investigation against a political opponent, he said, would be, quote, very, very divisive for the country. And then he said he didn't want to hurt the Clintons. He said the Clintons have been through enough. He said, I'm not looking to go back and go through this. But think of that. He said it would be divisive in our country to pursue criminal charges against a political opponent. This is the man that the media kept calling Hitler and a dictator and a tyrant and a terrorist and now an insurrectionist facing 717 years, the worst person on the planet. But he didn't lock her up. But now they won't stop until they lock him up. But this is even deeper than partisan politics. It's deeper. They want him to never step foot in the White House again because he was against permanent Washington, often called the deep state. Listen to this clip from Chuck Schumer, January 3rd, 2017, very early on in the Trump presidency.
He's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting, hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
Oh, it's an amazing clip. There was no Russian hacking. They are very upset. They? Who's they? The intelligence community. They're very upset. Well, who cares? Well, they have 6 ways to Sunday at getting back at you. Who? The president? The CIA? Supposed to, they go out. Now the CIA is turned in and got Trump. Amazing. They are very upset. These people decided on November 8th, 2016, I guess the day after the election, so the 9th, to destroy him and his legacy until it's the last thing they do. And do not think that they will stop with Trump. They will do this to every Republican who gets too close to winning. If DeSantis or whoever gets close to winning any other election in the future, whoever it is, doesn't matter, it could be 30 years from now, they will say that this guy is worse than Trump. They'll rewrite the history books and say, well, Trump actually wasn't that bad. This guy, though, he actually believes all of this stuff. And the new plan is not to win on policy, but to throw opponents in jail. Don't think that can happen? You don't think that can? Of course it can. It'll be you. You've committed some crime today. You're driving today, you tailgated the guy in front of you. You know you're supposed to say, for every 10 miles per hour you're driving, you're supposed to say 1 car length behind the person in front of you. So if you're driving 40 miles an hour, you're supposed to say 4 car lengths behind the person. No one does that. So you've tailgated today, you ripped the tag off your mattress last year, you missed something on your taxes 4 years ago. You did something that should be criminally investigated. That's the new game plan. Trump's just the first, but he will not be the last. And it won't just be people running for office, it'll be people who support them as well. It'll be you. You're the enabler. You're the enabler of a tyrant. You'll be swept up into RICO charges as well. The leader of the Proud Boys is now in jail for 22 years. He's in prison for 22 years. He wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. He was in Baltimore, and he's in jail for 22 years. You don't think they will come after you? They have 6 ways till Sunday. One final point on the mugshot, then we'll get to our wonderful guests. Here's Donald Trump reacting to the mugshot.
Is there anyone on the planet that doesn't know what I look like? I wish there were some people like that. That'd be very nice for me. And yet, for some reason, the communist Democrats in Atlanta made a mugshot of me. That's a mugshot. They make me look like a criminal, but it completely and totally backfired, as you probably read. Since my mugshot was released, our campaign has raised over $10 million. The people get it. The people know this is a sham and a scam. This is nothing but election interference. They want to interfere with our election so they can try and damage me with all these lawsuits that you see flying all over the place. But it's election interference. It's orchestrated by crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country, along with the deep state. And on November 5th, 2024, it's going to backfire again when we win back the White House and make America great again. I just want to thank you for your tremendous support. And here it is. If you want to go out and get it, you can go out and get it. Have fun with it. But people do like it, I must say. Thank you very much.
Have fun with it. The goal of the mugshot, the goal was to humiliate Trump. Theodore Dalrymple, he said, the main purpose of communist propaganda is not to persuade or convince or inform, but to humiliate. That's what they do. And here's the deal. The greater the lie that a communist or whoever tells, the more absurd, the better. Because if they can get you to repeat absurdity, then they can get you to say anything. So the goal of the mugshot was to humiliate him and humiliate you. There's no reason to mugshot the most famous person ever. You could show a picture of Donald Trump to a person in a tribe in Africa. They would know who he was. Every single American knows Donald Trump. People could draw a picture of Trump on an Etch-a-Sketch from memory. There's no reason to mugshot him other than to humiliate him. Obviously didn't work. The second goal is to try and humiliate and demoralize you. Will that work? They won't stop anytime soon. If this doesn't work, don't worry. They'll keep trying. I always wondered how back in the day, countries would exile people, like Napoleon. They would exile people off to a deserted island. I always wondered how the French could cut off the heads of 17,000 people during the French Revolution. Could you imagine cutting off the heads of 17,000 people? But that wasn't that long ago. We're the same people. Look at all the political violence in world history. We're no different today. This is a picture of the execution of the French King Louis XVI in 1793. Are we very different from them? Has human nature changed that much? How they wish they could do that again. Nothing like this has ever been done before. It's called Politics by Faith with me, Mike Slater. We are bombarded with news all day long, and I don't know about you, but it makes me anxious and worried and all these not good feelings. So in Politics by Faith, we take the news of the day, we lament the brokenness of it, and then we take the turn and we give you a biblical or historical perspective, and hopefully that will bring you some peace so that you can fall asleep at night and reminding you of what is in your control and also what is not. Hopefully this will change our perspective of how we look at the stories of the day. Politics by Faith, it's available now everywhere you download podcasts. Politics by Faith with Mike Slater.